So I'm here from Google today, and we are the creators of Android, or at least the current owners of it. I know that we try to get along the best we can with all the developers, especially the people who are on Google Play, but that doesn't always work out. There are cases where we kind of have little run-ins with developers for various reasons, whether it's vulnerabilities or malware or things like that. So I'm here today to talk about some of those cases and hopefully how they could be avoided. So just to introduce myself, I'm coming here today from Google Play Protect specifically. We are the pre-installed mobile security software on Android devices with GMS Core. So we scan for malicious behavior in applications and alert users when that happens. And so users will actually get a pop-up notification that says, hey, we think that this app is malicious or harmful in some way, and hopefully you can avoid your app ever getting flagged or something like that. A little bit of information about me. I'm actually a reverse engineer on this team, so I'm the one actually reading the code. So anytime you might have thought, it's okay if this code is a little messy because no one's ever going to read it again, I'm reading it. So I would appreciate it if you clean up your code because it makes it easier for me too. So my job specifically is to look for malicious behavior in apps, which we call PHA, potentially harmful applications, and then flag them so that we can alert users in the real world. And the reason I'm here today, like I said, is we had this genius idea that instead of maybe just reacting to malicious software, we could actually prevent it. So we're trying to be more preemptive, more proactive about talking to developers, because we really want to have a good relationship with you. We know that sometimes maybe policies aren't always clear-cut. Maybe we have differing opinions of what constitutes harmful behavior. And so we just kind of want to get out there ahead of time, and hopefully we can build a better relationship. And no, this doesn't mean I'm going to teach you how to write better malware. It just means that I'm going to show you some cases that could have been avoided. So we have two main categories of apps that we consider harmful. The first one's potentially harmful apps. And these are any apps that have some sort of behavior that could put the user or their data at risk. It could only pose a risk to some users, so it may not be harmful to everybody. And the user might actually still want it. So depending on the case, there's varying levels of severity and different kinds of warnings that we actually show to the user. For the other category is mobile unwanted software, and these aren't necessarily malware, or at least not by the standards of maybe most large antivirus companies. But we still may want to warn users about them or get them removed from the Google Play Store, or at least remove that version of it. And we track those statistics separately from PHA. It's generally not considered as severe, but we're still trying to create a cleaner ecosystem for Android. The way we alert users, like I said, there's varying severities for these harmful behaviors. And so sometimes we just warn the users with a pop-up or a warning in the Google Play Store app that says, hey, this app has X behavior that you might not have been aware of. So you may want to think twice about using it or granting it certain permissions, or you may just want to remove it from your device. We don't specifically remove it from the device because there are cases where the user may still want it. For example, there might be an app that is uploading all your data without you knowing, but maybe you've had the app for a couple days and you decide you still want that functionality, so you choose to keep it on your device even if it's uploading all your contacts. You're like, I don't care if they know that I'm friends with George. It's okay, I just keep using this app. For apps that we block, we actually block the installs or remove it directly from the device. And usually these are the more severe cases, like maybe like phishing or ransomware, things where we believe there could be some kind of irreparable harm to the user or the device, or that it causes a risk to other users as well. And you might notice we use the word potentially, and potentially harmful apps. This doesn't necessarily mean, or it doesn't mean that it might be harmful. It just means it might not be harmful to all users. So we do know that it has harmful behavior. It's not that we're not sure. It's more that Android is the most widely used operating system in the world right now, and there's a very diverse user base instead of devices, carriers, things like that. So one app that's harmful to users on Samsung phones and running on Verizon may not be malicious to people who have Android TV in India. It just depends. And yes, we don't necessarily always use the word malware. Sometimes antivirus companies get a little bit mad at us about this, but our definitions are a little bit different. We don't want to use the term malware because we don't necessarily believe that all of that behavior is necessarily intended. We aren't judging intent of the author necessarily. We're just trying to warn users about behavior that could be harmful to them. So there's a lot of different subcategories when we break these down. I don't want this to be a vocab lesson, so I'm not going to go into each individual category, but these are all the different categories of PHA that we'll flag for. A lot of these are probably self-explanatory and familiar. I'll explain a couple of them as I go through some examples. And don't worry, there are also definitions on our website at the end of the slides if you're interested in learning more. And there's only a few categories for MUwS. So whereas spyware, for example, is PHA, you'll see data collection is MUwS. It's a good example for differentiating between PHA and MUwS because spyware is for higher risk types of personal information, whereas data collection is types of information that we consider lower risk. So my main purpose here today is I want to talk about why good developers get flagged for PHA or MUwS. And I put good in quotes because, like I said, we're not trying to judge intent. We just warn the users about what behavior is there. So, we're not trying to start a personal beef with companies that we flag. It's just we want users to be as safe as possible. So I'm going to go through a bunch of these with examples so that you can see what has happened in the past. So all of these examples are things that we've actually run into in the past. So if they seem ridiculous, just know they have happened. So I'm going to start with disclosure. So times that we've flagged things as spyware. I don't know if you all can read the description here, but it says terms of service. We just uploaded all your sensitive data to our servers. Please click accept to continue using the app. So if you're going to upload people's data, please tell them before you do it if you're sending it off device. Make sure that they know what's happening, make sure they know it's being sent off device, and that you have some kind of protection in place to keep it safe. Notifying them after the fact isn't really disclosure because they should be able to opt out. They should also know what data you're taking. Just saying we may upload your data doesn't tell the user really anything. They don't know what kind of data you might be interested in. They don't know what kind of data may be getting uploaded off device if you don't specify it. Another thing is that we generally require that the user sees an in-app prompt that actually tells them what kind of data is being uploaded. So if you just have a link to an external terms of service, we don't really view that as good enough necessarily. The reason for this is, at the time of publishing the app, your terms of service might be great, and solid, but the user may not click on it, and also you might change your terms of service later, and we don't know. If it's in the app, it's part of that version, and it's very clear to the user what data is being uploaded. So this is an example of maybe what a good terms of service or disclosure for uploading data might look like. The set of data that you're uploading might be different. There's legitimate use cases for most types of data that you might be uploading. Like, for example, it could be an SMS backup app so that you can restore all your SMS to another device, or it might, there might be a case where you want recordings of yourself singing in the car or the shower uploaded to a server. I don't know. I'm not here to judge why you're uploading it. I just want to know that the users know that you are doing it. But one thing to watch out for, even if you give disclosure, please use encryption. We do warn users, or we do remove apps from the Play Store if they're not using encryption to upload sensitive data. In terms of disclosure, I also want to talk about billing. And I know that at least when I talk to people in the United States, people aren't always familiar with different types of mobile billing because it's not used as commonly here. But there's two main types. And the first one is premium SMS billing. And the general idea is that you can send a text message with a short code and keyword, and that adds a charge on your mobile bill. And once the phone has successfully sent that text message, the app can verify that it was sent successfully, so they know that you've been billed for something, and then they can provide you some content. A lot of times this is used for things like stickers, emojis, ringtones, things like that, where they're like value-added services that are add-ons to an app. But they can also be used for actual payment for the app. Generally speaking, we don't really allow this in the Play Store because we provide our own in-app billing system. But it can be used for cases that are off the Play Store or that are providing some sort of service that is accessible outside of the app as well. The other kind is direct carrier billing. And if you look online, this term is kind of not really well defined, and that's because a lot of carriers implement this differently. But the main idea is that you visit some carrier website or a website that's partnered with a carrier, and it informs you that when you click OK, you're going to be charged some amount on your mobile bill. And a lot of times this is a recurring fee, depending if it's a subscription for something. But it can also be a one-time fee, and depending on the carrier, this might include a CAPTCHA, it might include a password, it can include a million different things. It just depends. But usually there's some kind of physical device verification that makes sure the request is actually coming from your device and not just from some click farm somewhere or a server somewhere. And so two of those ways are either they verify your device over the mobile data network, or they send you a one-time password over SMS, and you have to enter that back into the website. So with that in mind, we require that you give disclosure before you do the billing. We don't want people just doing billing without the user being totally aware. So the first thing to look for is, does your disclosure actually include how much you're billing the user for? You'd be surprised how many times people don't include this when they tell users they're going to charge them. The second thing is, again, give the disclosure before you actually do the billing process. Sometimes developers either add these terms of service to try and trick us into thinking they are disclosing it to the user, when in reality they're automating the billing process, or they're actually trying, even if they give disclosure, they're trying to kind of hack the website to automate it once you click OK. So don't try and solve CAPTCHAs. That should be obvious. Don't try and automate anything that's put in place as a security protection by the carrier. And the last thing is be specific about how the user is going to be charged and how much they're going to be charged. So this one may also seem like a ridiculous example, but I have seen things like this before where it says, cost is somewhere between 99 cents and 30 pounds, depending on what country you're in and what carrier you're on. And that doesn't really tell the user a whole lot. Really, ideally, they should know exactly how much they're going to get charged. Otherwise, it is actually fraud. So here's an example of a disclosure that would be considered complete. It includes exactly how much they're going to be charged, how frequently, and how to stop a recurring payment. Although we still have run into problems where something like this happened. It was actually, even though it looked complete, it was actually kind of a lie because the way to stop the recurring payment wasn't accurate. So just please make sure that you're being accurate in your disclosure. Another complaint that we often get from developers is, well, I didn't write the code, so why am I in trouble for it? So even if you're including third-party code, it's still harmful to users. And so, we're not trying to tell the users that you're a bad developer. We're trying to tell them there's code on your device that could be harmful to you. So yes, we know it's not ideal for developers if they're someone we have a good relationship with, but we do want to make sure that we're protecting users. And you might have noticed that one of our PHA categories was non-Android threats. You might be wondering what that means. And something that happens not too infrequently is someone will have a virus on their personal computer that packages itself into the APK. The reason we warn on this is because we want to prevent the spread of this virus. So it may not actually affect that individual user, but it could spread to a personal computer. And this is one of those cases that kind of exemplifies why we use the word potentially harmful, is because it's not going to be harmful to that device, but it will be to other devices, so it's harmful to the ecosystem as a whole. Another complaint we sometimes get is, well, okay, I left the bad SDK in, but I don't call it anymore, so why are you still flagging me? And that's because doing analysis on an app, it's not trivial to show that that code is never going to get executed. And even if it's non-functioning code, having malicious behavior in your app is not good. And there are a million different ways that code could get called through, it could get called through a native bridge, a JavaScript bridge. It could get executed by code that's loaded dynamically. It's not our job to prove which code is going to get executed. We're just there to warn users that there is malicious behavior in the app. So if you ever find yourself in violation, please just remove all the code you can. Yeah. Sorry? Not necessarily, because sometimes what will happen is you include an SDK, or maybe you even have a separate file in your assets that never gets loaded, but it still exists in the APK. Yes. Yeah. So and like I said, we're not here to teach you how to evade detection. So I'm not going to tell you what we don't look at, but yeah, we look at all the code that's there. We don't, there's millions upon millions of apps, so we're not looking at every single app line by line. We're just looking at the parts that we know to be malicious. And so if we find that malicious code in the app, we're going to flag it. Another thing that comes across, and this kind of relates to third-party SDKs as well, is alternative monetization methods. And some of these are harmful to the user devices. The two main examples I put up here were cryptocurrency mining and proxy SDKs. So cryptocurrency mining we often see is just something like, for a while we had a lot of apps coming in that had calls to CoinHive, and it was just trying to mine Bitcoin or Monero on the user's device in JavaScript. And also we saw some apps that were running a proxy in the background that allowed servers to proxy their traffic through users' devices as kind of like a security or privacy service. And while these might not immediately seem like malicious behavior, they can slow the device down. They can cause, unexpected data charges to the user. In some cases, they can actually cause physical damage if you run too much on the device. And in the case of proxies, they can allow illegal behavior to go through the user's network, which is not great. So as a general rule, if a company is offering you a monetization method that seems too good to be true, it probably is. And there's a non-zero chance that it's eventually going to get flagged. So just think, if you have to ask yourself, should I be doing this? Maybe don't do it. In terms of misleading content or impersonation, we see a couple different ways that this can happen. And some of these might not seem harmful. And this is one of those cases that falls under the mobile unwanted software, not PHA. But some examples of this might be cloning apps, cloning content, using logos from other companies, implying you have a partnership or you belong to another company. All of these things are maybe misleading to a user. So in the real world, impersonation might be a little bit more obvious, but in the digital world, you can just copy paste. So if you look at these two icons, they look pretty much exactly the same, but one of them's real, one of them's a fake version of the same app. And when you open this app, you get the actual content of that game, but then it has an added code path into it. So I apologize, this recording was originally done for a Vietnamese audience, but basically it just says, you have to do some verification before you get the content of the app. And okay, now we're going to require that you download some other apps or rate some other apps or take a survey, and then you'll be provided the content of the app. And in this case, this violates a couple different rules. It's just impersonation, they cloned content, it's copyright infringement, intellectual property infringement. There's a lot of different issues with this. But to the user, it looks like all this content came from the original developer. So that could damage their reputation, it could damage their revenue stream. And sometimes we get apps trying to post to the Play Store or posting to other stores, and they're just trying to get installs based on the reputation of another developer. And this is also harmful to the original developer. So, I'm actually not even sure if any of these are the real Snapchat on here, or which one of them is real, if any of them. The one on the right? Okay. I guess that's the biggest size of the APK, so that's probably true. Another thing that often comes up is disruptive ads. And generally speaking, this just means ads out of context. So in this video, we see that when a user hangs up a call, they get an ad. And this isn't a great user experience, and it doesn't tell the user which app the ad is coming from. Another example is, this is just also ads out of context on the home screen. So in all these cases, the user should know, who's advertising to them, how do they stop the advertisements, and it shouldn't be outside the context of the app. So just at a higher level, the main things I would hope you would leave here with is, don't take user data for granted. The data that you take from users can be sensitive, and hopefully you can respect that and respect that they should know what data is being taken and assure them that it's going to be secured properly. In terms of third-party libraries or code that you add into your app, make sure you know the source, make sure they're accountable somehow, make sure it's someone you can trust, because eventually you're going to be held accountable for that code that you include in your app. We're here to protect the users, so if we see malicious behavior, regardless of where that code comes from, we're going to warn users about that behavior. And the last thing is, like I mentioned earlier, the Android user base is very wide and very diverse. So think about what kind of assumptions you're making about your users. You may be developing your app for users on the west coast of the United States, but you may actually get users halfway across the world that have completely different use cases, different expectations, and different resources even. Using the same amount of data for a user in California and a user in a country, another country who maybe pays per megabyte or per gigabyte or has minutes could cause problems. So just plan for a diverse user base. Make sure you're thinking, could this be maybe not even harmful to a user, but could it provide a bad user experience? If you have more questions, we have detailed policies. All the information I described here, minus the examples, is listed on our developer website and on Google Play Policies website. If you don't take a picture of this slide or you don't remember these links, you can always just Google it. So hopefully I will leave you some time to get out of here for lunch early. Thanks for coming. Come to my talk this afternoon.